With the recent release of the Steam Frame, people seem to be losing their ding-dang minds. And as some casual gamers may not be aware as to the significance behind the announcement, the GameCube, the Steam Deck, the new controller, the Steam controller, that is to not even discuss the Steam ecosystem that is creeping up on a bunch of other big developers' doors. No. Today, we're just going to discuss the significance behind the announcement of the launch of the new Steam Frame VR, why I'm excited, why you might be excited, and just to kind of see if we can have a fun little discussion today. Let's get into it, shall we? So with me being a kind of a late adopter to the whole VR ecosystem, I first purchased a PSVR 2, I believe literally a year ago, if I'm not mistaken. It was around Black Friday. There was a really fun deal and included the Horizon, basically tech demo, but it's a fun game. But anyways, that was my first kind of foray into the VR space. I'd always wanted to get into virtual reality, but everything seemed a little kind of clunky. It seemed like things were not quite there yet. And also I didn't have a PC that could really run it. The PlayStation VR, the original model for the PS4, seemed fun, but I waited. And so I think that my patience paid off in that I definitely enjoyed the PlayStation VR 2. I did a lot of research, as I am wont to do. Me being a hobby hopper, if I'm going to get into anything that's going to cost money, I want to make sure that I'm putting my dollars into the right place. And so I did a lot of research, and because of the OLED panels on the PlayStation VR 2, the exclusive titles that came with it, as well as the haptic feedback on the controllers. Now, the controllers look weird and clunky, and they take a little bit to get used to, but I digress. For those reasons, I decided, actually, no, it was those reasons, plus there was the announcement that the PSVR 2 had an adapter where you can actually connect and play your PC VR titles. So given the fact that you're able to do that, and I finally had a PC that can run some really solid VR titles. My old PC had just upgraded from, previously it was at a 980, RIP. That 980 got me far and lasted a lot longer than it probably should have. And when I upgraded to my 4070 Ti and finally had some real new power under my rig, I was super excited to play and get into some VR titles. And so when that sale happened, when the Black Friday sale for the PSVR 2 happened, I decided I wanted to dip my toes, and boy did I dip my toes into it. I played tons of games, had lots of fun with it, really jumped myself heavily into the VR space, and for the most part I would highly recommend the PSVR 2 as a headset. Until now, ladies and gentlemen, times have changed, or well, times are changing. The waves of change are upon us as a new dawn of VR, of virtual reality, is upon us with the Steam Frame. And the reasons why it's so significant, well, it's just a hodgepodge of so many different things, and that's why I wanted to talk about this with you guys. So the biggest thing is the fact that Steam, when they originally announced the Index, was a huge deal. Steam, with their virtual reality hardware, have been the absolute trendsetters, and this time with the Steam Frame is absolutely no different. Now, with the new technology, Steam is doing a lot of things that are very consumer focused still, and they are staying true to their dedication to keeping an open source sort of mantra with both their hardware and their software. I mean, it's something that, again, you would love to see other companies do, but never going to happen, and that's fine. We've got at least one, and they're one of the biggest ones in the space, and they are the ones that are making the biggest waves out there. And so let's get into kind of that significance. So one of the big things that stand out to me that I'm excited about is how lightweight and comfortable that headset really looks. It looks a lot like I believe the big screen VR is what it's called. That was one of the other models I was looking at, but way out of my price budget at the time. And so, but the big screen VR, it looks like Steam is kind of taking some design philosophies from that, which is amazing, because for virtual reality, one of the things that is kind of a drawback with the PlayStation VR 2 headset is how bulky, how heavy. If you're playing a game that's very active, you'll sweat. You will absolutely sweat. And your VR headset will fog up, and you'll have to make sure to kind of clean and maintain it so as to avoid any damage. And so anyways, there's lots of things that go into that, but that's not even including the immersive factor of having a lightweight sort of headset that easily straps on. That's one of the other big things. If you're not used to certain headsets, trying to get that onto like a friend, you're like, oh yeah, here, try this game real quick, and it takes like 3-5 minutes just to even get it. It ruins that sort of experience. Most friends that I have that try to do that, if they're not already into VR, if they don't naturally slide into that, that's kind of a weird entry point, a gateway that might turn them off to the experience. They're kind of coming in with a negative mindset, I've found. But anyways, so the fact that you're able to kind of have such a lightweight, sleek sort of headset that comes jam-packed with so many different features is a standout right out the gate. Valve's coming out swinging with that. And they've also introduced the IR cameras inside the headset to actually allow you to play inside dim or dark rooms. And that is a huge quality of life update for me, because I actually had to go out and I had to buy a whole different accessory. As I said, I was playing a lot of virtual reality, and at the time when I was playing it, the bright lights that I had to use were very obnoxious to my partner. I had to play in a brightly lit room because I needed to do all the different crazy hand motions and everything that came with it. So I had to go out and get an IR something or other that allowed me to play in the dark so that they wouldn't have a headache every time I really got into a VR game. And so having those sort of cameras on board is a really fun inclusion. There are internal speakers inside the camera that allow from what I saw in an interview with a Valve employee, there are internal speakers that have 2 drivers individually installed per speaker that direct the volume directly into your ear. I'm a little on the fence about that. I'm hoping that there's an audio jack port. I don't remember if I saw anything like that. Somebody please pull it up, or somebody let me know. But they have those customized speakers in the headset itself to address the issues that happen when you get to really high bass levels, when things start to kind of get rockin', get jamming, and the very finely tuned instruments inside the headset can sometimes get a little disrupted, and that can cause frames to drop. It can just cause a little bit of a not so good experience. And so that's part of Steam's overall design philosophy. It really kind of feels like with this headset, they are trying to think about everything, about any possible situation that a VR gamer, and it looks like, again, they're trying to also target casual gamers with their VR headset as well, which that's going to come down to price point, depending on how expensive or what the different models look like for this headset. We'll see how casual gamers decide on whether or not they would like to pick up the Steam Frame, which is also then going to have to depend on availability. When the original Index launched, it was late 2019, and that was before certain supply shocks. What happened in late 2019, early 2020? What happened in early 2020 that might have caused some supply shocks and issues with electronics? I can't think of anything. So again, availability is going to be huge. But again, getting kind of lost in the weeds there. That internal speaker, the internal speakers that they have for it sounds really cool. Goes to the whole point that it sounds like Steam is really trying to think about everything. With that, they also introduced or teased how their design for the Steam frame is meant to be modular, or perhaps has the possibility of having a lot of different third party, or you as an individual, if you're smart enough to go in there and mess with, if you want to do that. I love the fact that Steam doesn't only allow it, but they encourage it. Their hardware is designed around that. They want people to come up with fun, new, cool designs and tech, and there's going to be a huge ecosystem that's just going to explode around the Steam Deck. I'm sure that there are people with their 3D printers just firing up, waiting to get all the specs, waiting to be able to come up with something cool, fun new accessories. So there's just going to be a lot of different stuff, and them leaning into that modular design philosophy, I think is a huge plus. So inside the headset itself, it looks like they are going for pancake lenses, which, for those of you that don't know, it's a certain design on the lens itself. They're called pancake lenses because apparently they're supposed to mimic what a pancake looks like, if I remember correctly. And unfortunately, they didn't get or have some sort of an OLED pancake hybrid sort of design, so that at least gives the PSVR 2 something to desperately cling to in relevance, and that they're still one of the best OLED headsets out there, which I know for the OLED lenses, for some people it's a little bit divisive. Me personally, I haven't had that much of issues with it. There are some games and some moments where I do notice that framing, I forget what it's called. There's some times where I do notice that, but overall, my experience with the OLED lenses, I absolutely love the rich darks. I love the color complexity that comes with a lot of games. That's why the Horizon Call of the Mountain game was so welcomely included in the bundle that I got, as it was a wonderful tech demo. Really kind of showed you what the PlayStation VR 2 is capable of, and absolutely love playing that game. And so yes, the pancake lenses apparently are set to rival that of the Meta Quest 3, which is great. Again, that means that they are staying within kind of like the expectations of the current hardware specifics for virtual reality headsets. And so sad that we didn't see like a new upgrade, but again, I can see kind of if they're wanting to keep costs limited and hopefully pass on the savings to the consumer by not going for some new hybrid expensive sort of lenses, some custom made lenses that have to be made specific to the Steam frame. That implements a lot of cost on the back end that may be passed on to the consumer. So if they're keeping cost in mind, which I'm hoping they are, then I would imagine that's why they decided to kind of stick with the industry standard with the pancake lenses. Now, the lenses themselves are 2160 by 2160 per eye, and they allow refresh rate from 72 gigahertz up to 120 gigahertz with an experimental mode of 144 gigahertz. Now, that's really fun and is definitely cool with the experimental mode of 144, as for those people who want to try to push their headset to the limit to see what sort of games it are modded, or what they can do to get the best sort of refresh rate, which is important in a VR headset, as the refresh rate is more or less what's going to minimize that nausea. It's going to minimize your brain being fractured between what you see and how it's moving, and so having games that are going to be running hopefully at a respective 120 gigahertz refresh rate with that 144 experimental is a really fun addition to have. That's going to be heavily supported by Steam and the Steam Frame. Now, while we're on the topic of lenses, this is the perfect opportunity to discuss their new technology that they have, which is the foveated streaming. Now, foveated streaming is completely different from what I've seen in the interviews and what I've come to understand between the foveated rendering, which is one of the main components of the PlayStation VR 2 headset. I believe there are other headsets that utilize it. What foveated rendering and foveated streaming is basically it's an eye tracking software that they have cameras implemented inside the headset near the lenses that will track your eye movement. You actually kind of have to set it up first. You play this little mini game with your eyes so it can calibrate your eye movement correctly. And what foveated rendering does is from my understanding, is that it's implemented on the game's end. So it's implemented on the software end. The reason why it hasn't picked up as much as I would like it to is it's left up to the choice of the developers, which at that point kind of takes up resources. They have to keep that foveated rendering in mind in the design of their game and to make sure that it's implemented correctly. And so some games, I'm sure it runs great. Other games, they may have issues with it. And so it has to be implemented by the developer. Again, it's a great technology. It really helps. I haven't even gone over what it does. What foveated rendering does, it focuses the rendering of the game relative to where your eyes are being tracked. So it ensures that the best fidelity, the best graphics are going to be centered on that kind of pinpoint where your eyes are actually looking. It's going to dump more resources there and spread the rest of the game kind of a little bit more blurry. But in practice, when you're actually playing a game, it looks fantastic. The PlayStation Call of the Mountain, that highly utilized the foveated rendering, and so as you're looking, you can really kind of take in a lot of that extra detail, but again, it diverts and changes the resources, so depending on how developers want to implement that, it can vary. And so the difference is, now that I've explained how foveated rendering works with it being an eye tracking software, foveated streaming, the reason why it's such a big thing, why I wanted to even make a video, because honestly, foveated streaming was one of the main things, one of the main topics I wanted to go over with you guys today. The foveated streaming, instead of it being implemented on the software end, instead of having developers dedicate their resources, their time, and their design with foveated rendering in mind, foveated streaming actually works independently and is on the hardware. So none of the resources for the game have to be taken up. A developer can simply just turn the function on for their game. Again, that's kind of what Steam has teased with their whole foveated rendering. Or foveated streaming, I should say. The fact that it's on the hardware side has huge implications, because one of the drawbacks, one of the reasons why the great technology of foveated rendering wasn't used in the PlayStation VR 2 headset was just because of how resource heavy it could be. And so having that relegated, you don't worry about that. We'll do some of that heavy lifting. We'll do some of that heavy lifting for you to make sure that your game runs at the best possible way. That's gonna really open up a huge amount of really fun possibilities that we may see in future VR games. And so I'm really excited about the implications and seeing the rollout of foveated rendering, which brings me to the whole point of the fact that the Steam Frame headset runs as like its own onboard computer, basically. So similar to the Meta Quest 3, you can play games without having it connected with a PC. The Meta Quest was designed with just being able to play on its own, and having it being able to be connected to a PC is like kind of a bonus, right? Wasn't necessarily one of the driving factors, which I think is a huge miss by Meta, but that's a whole other topic. So the Steam Frame acting as its own onboard, having its own onboard processing power, being its own basic computer, while still having such a sleek form factor that again looks very comfortable, and I'm sure lots of third-party accessories are going to come out that's going to make it even more comfortable. It has really big implications in the VR space, because you have to also keep in mind that the Steam OS is going to be installed natively, and the Steam operating system being based off of Linux, and their new way that they layer how games are able to be played through the Steam Frame or through the Steam operating system is also really big. Just to keep it in kind of layman's terms, basically, one of the main reasons why a lot of PC games have issues running between like different sort of like Windows versions, and why some people have issues you can't play older games a lot of the times is because there's some compatibility issues. Again, not to get too much into it, but what Steam has done more or less is they've created a layer. Think of it as a layer that the game has to go through that allows them to kind of transcode and make it possible to actually still be playable. Now, how they do that, that's for other people to figure out. Maybe I'm kind of misunderstanding. Again, it's a very sort of it's got a lot of minute details to it. It's an interesting sort of concept, but the way that they're able to implement that through the Steam operating system has a lot of really big implications, because they're also going to use this to try to push a lot of flat screen for my VR friends, or regular games through the headset, which has always been like, name me a person who, wouldn't love to just be able to pop on a sleek little sunglasses, a nice little kind of comfortable pair of headset, kick your feet up on the couch, and boom, 100-inch screen right there. Maybe it's got modded, it's got the perfect little curve to it, and it can take any game that you're playing, and suddenly it's so much more immersive. And you can play that from the comfort of your couch. You can play that from the comfort of your bed. You can play that while you're waiting on the bus. Like, that sort of concept, gamers have been dreaming of, but it hasn't really been actualized because of a lot of, kind of real world limitations. And Steam Frame isn't perfect. Now I'm pitching this whole, you perfect gamer utopia. Can you imagine taking a 100-inch screen with you wherever you go? No. So it's not at all what the Steam Frame is going to be offering, but it's a step in the right direction. I think that it's kind of almost like them taking honestly the biggest leap towards that. Caveat, depending on how much it's going to cost and how low they can get that cost down. If you can bring that somewhere, within like the $400, $500, $600 range for standard consumers, that would be great. Maybe they even come out with a Steam Frame Lite and it's the $200, $300 model, maybe slightly worse lenses. I don't know. Anyways, I digress. So I think that sort of inclusion and their focus on not only VR titles, but also being able to have a way to comfortably implement non-VR titles into your game, which is, something that you always want to be able to do, but it's always difficult to implement. And I think that if anybody might be able to crack that code, the boys and girls at Steam, boys and gals at Steam, they're working and they're doing the best at it compared to everybody else. So, in addition to that, there's also onboard memory, which as a PlayStation VR 2 enjoyer, I didn't even really know and/or thought that would be a possibility. There is no onboard memory on the PSVR 2. There's apparently some on the Meta Quest, which makes sense, it being able to run independently, but having an up to 2 terabyte SD card slot dedicated to the Steam Frame, just right there. Boop, you pop it in. It's got its own onboard memory plus an SD card slot. I know lots of other people are going to be testing that out, and if they nailed the read write speed necessary to play VR games from an SD card, all right, like that's cool. That is something I'm excited about. That's something I want to nerd out about with you guys, because I think that would be something that, it's a huge, like, an IRL quality of life update. You know, like your gamer inventory, your gamer backpack slot for VR games has essentially been upgraded. You know, you can now purchase and insert an SD card slot, and you can install all the games in there. You don't have to shuffle things around. I cannot tell you how many times I've had to uninstall and reinstall Resident Evil 4 and Gran Turismo 7. Like, constantly. Those games are juggernauts, both in fun and in VR titles. If you have access to play those games in VR, please do. But I had to uninstall and reinstall those games so many times because you move things around. But if I could just have an SD card slot that popped into to my headset and I can just play it natively from my PSVR 2, dude, I'd be so much happier. And that includes the PC titles, the PC VR titles as well. If I can just run it through an SD card, dude, I'd be jamming. I'd be super excited about that. So with continuing their design philosophy and trying to not only have the Steam Frame be utilized for VR titles, but non-VR titles, flat screen titles, the controllers, they mentioned their design philosophy was to not only have it be a good functioning VR controllers, which I would love to see. I mean, again, it might be a bit of a hot take. I might still want to use my PSVR 2 controllers, depending. I know those weird UFO saucers, like, I'm the hot take. I'm going to get flamed in the comments for that. But hear me out. The haptic feedbacks. Now, I understand that the Steam controller is going to offer some levels of haptic feedbacks, and the new magnetic joysticks, I'm also super excited about. So definitely, I mean, if I get lucky enough and have the money, and also doubly get lucky enough and have money at the time, tax return. Anyways, if I get lucky enough and I happen to actually snag one, of course I'm going to use a regular Steam Frame VR, the controllers, and I'd love to do an unboxing and a review. Gosh, if I got lucky enough for that. But I digress. I would, interestingly enough, might still want to kind of toy with and play with the PSVR 2 controllers comboed with the Steam Frame headset, just because I'd love to see, and I know, again, not all games have the haptic feedback included, but for those that might have that in the future and for other titles that I would use, I'm curious. I definitely really love the PSVR 2 controllers a lot. I'm also a sucker. I'm a PlayStation kid by default. Like, shout out to the fact that PlayStation won that console war. Am I right, fellas? But I'm a PlayStation kid by default, and so I like that it's basically a PlayStation controller split in half, and the way that it kind of functions, the little saucers around it. I don't know, but the haptic feedbacks are super fun, super great. Like, if you're, you can't race on that one. Super fun for when you're playing, like, again, the Horizon game. They, again, focus a lot on those, so it showcased a lot of the things that the PSVR 2 headset was capable of, and the feeling of pulling a bowstring back. And actually, no, a better example of that would be the Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. That game, you felt it when you brained a zombie or two in that game, and flicking your knife around, like it felt like Counter-Strike. It felt like real life Counter-Strike. I'm just flicking my knife around. Look at how expensive it is. So the haptic feedbacks and those sort of games, it's just so great. And so I'd love to see future PC developers kind of implement that sort of things and have, that sort of stuff. Maybe they'll come out with an upgraded haptic controller, or again, modular sort of stuff. So just a whole Pandora's box of what could be for the VR world. So I'm really excited about the Steam operating system, and the controllers look really great. The functionality, the lightweight, sleek design of it. Again, a weird thing to kind of be super excited about, but after having played so much with a bulky headset with PSVR 2, I'm excited to have something a little bit more comfortable. Especially as I'm sure you guys might have seen the craziness. I play a lot of Synth Riders on my PlayStation, on my PSVR 2, and that game gets you moving, and you can only play it for so long with the PSVR 2 headset before you have to put it down and take a break. And so if I'm able to play it that much longer with the Steam frame, sign me up, baby. I'm excited for that. So in conclusion, all of those reasons, I'm super excited. I wanted to nerd out about the PSVR 2 headset, the significance of it, the fact that, Steam being such a juggernaut in the space, them just simply launching, even just teasing the specs of it, it's gonna make waves. Every other headset now is obsolete. Every other Steam headset, except maybe every other VR headset is either currently obsolete with the announcement of the Steam frame, or is soon to be obsolete once things start rolling and the Steam ecosystem starts really getting itself into full gear, and all the accessories and all the fun modular things that are being teased with the Steam frame come out. All of those other headsets are soon to be obsolete with the new Steam frame coming out. So that means that those manufacturers, those headsets, they're gonna have to change some things. They're gonna have to do something different. They're gonna have to come out and compete with the Steam frame, because nobody's going to want to buy them anymore. Like the only other one that has a slight edge is still the big screen VR, simply because the fact that it's basically just form factored to your eyes. Like, it looks really cool, but it also is very expensive from what I've seen, or is still fairly expensive, and has its own limitations. So again, in conclusion, I really just wanted to nerd out about this with you guys. I'm really excited about the fact that Steam is coming out swinging again with new hardware, new fun stuff. The new Steam controller looks great. The new Steam Gabe Cube also looks fantastic. That's one of the things that I'm going to try to push at my friend, if he could try to get, who's been trying to get into PC gaming. And hopefully, again, depending on the price point, that might be his entry point. I might be like, dude, here you go, buy that, Doom. That's all you need. That's it. You just buy that, plug it into your TV, plug it into a monitor or something if you need to, because it's so compatible. Looks like you just take that around the house with you, no problem. So yeah, I'm just excited about all that stuff, and I'm a big Steam fan, as you can tell. So hopefully you guys enjoyed me talking. Hopefully I didn't ramble too much. Those of you who are eating lunch right now, if you decided to eat your lunch or enjoy a meal and watch me at that same time, dude, lunch crew, dinner crew, please put yourself in the comments, because that's a weird thing for me to be excited about. But the idea of somebody's actually trying to take that time, okay, whatever, I'll see what this guy has to say. Num 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 num. If you happen to sit through this whole thing, shout out to you guys. So anyways, I had fun making this for you guys. I have lots of different things that I'd love to talk about in the future. This has been the Toasted Ninja. Keep it toasty out there. Peace.